YPO Innovation Week. So first let's do some introductions. So Nick Jekogian, of the president of the Signature Group Investments. Also, we've got John Keegan, the CEO of the Edison Foundation. Dan Monaghan, the CEO of WSI Digital Marketing. And Kevin Fallon, the CEO of Pivotal Innovation. And so let's start with just familiarize everyone with your company or organization. So Nick, start with you.
So Signature Group is a real estate investment company, and we focus on distressed assets throughout the United States.
Okay.
Edison Foundation is consisting of two foundations, the Charles Edison Fund and the Edison Innovation Foundation, and it's dedicated to promoting careers in science and technology, especially for women and minorities, and preserving the Edison legacy, and to support the Edison National Historic Site in West Orange.
Okay, Dan?
So WSI, we founded it about 20 years ago, just right around the time the internet was founded, and we're today the world's largest digital agency network. So we have agencies around the world that deliver web solutions, digital marketing.
Okay, and Kevin, what's?
Pivotal Innovation is a company where we offer an innovation as a service, and we actually empower companies to accelerate their innovation performance.
Okay, so let's talk about Innovation Week, YPO Innovation Week. I think let's start with you. So tell me about this week. What did you learn? What's the state of innovation, especially in the real estate investment business right now?
So I think what YPO Innovation Week was for me was just an opportunity to see other YPOers or outsiders from YPO talk about how important innovation is and what it looks like in their businesses, and then how I can bring that back to my business and my industry.
So even if they're not in real estate or investments, there's still something you can learn from them?
Especially
okay.
if they're not in real estate, yes.
Okay, like what kind of things?
The use of technology, the use of different business methodologies that are being used in technology companies, advertising companies, other companies that are outside of real estate, and bringing them back and using them in the real estate industry.
Okay, and tell us, John, about the Edison Foundation. How does that fit into all this?
How I got involved in it years ago was being the attorney for Governor Edison's estate, and his estate went into the setting up the foundations. We're involved with YPO Week because we think YPO is a terrific organization. If you take collectively the gross revenues of all of their members, which is something like 23,000 members, I think it's almost $6 trillion, and that's 10% of a $60 trillion world economy. It's very important to us to be involved with them because the Edison legacy is at stake here to be enhanced by them, and we can help them also enhance the Edison legacy.
Edison was the ultimate innovator.
He was the ultimate innovator, and you know, one of the big differences between an inventor and an innovator is that an inventor does a single product or processes, an innovator changes the world. It wasn't good enough for just the 5 of us to be able to use the incandescent light bulb. Everybody had to use it at an affordable price. So he had to create the whole industry in order to support it.
He changed the world. We had the blackout, the hurricane here in New York in 2012, and we were without power 4 or 5 days at my apartment, and I thought that was a good time to teach my kids about the importance of Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
Why do you do
that?
Well,
actually, he's the father of jobs, too, so everybody should be listening to him. He's responsible for out of every 4 jobs in the world. And he's really the man of the millennium, the person that contributed most to humankind for the past 1,000 years. I don't know of anybody else that falls in that category.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so Dan, tell us about Innovation Week for you. And I mean, you're already kind of in the digital space, but how do you learn from this?
I mean, our business and our industry is so rapidly changing. So for us, innovation is a way of life. And I've always looked at Thomas Edison as kind of the ultimate innovator. One of the things I heard today which really resonated for me is Edison saw himself not as an inventor as much as a sponge. And it's that intellectual curiosity that I saw in him that I think drives many of the great innovators today. And a quote that I heard once is, the only sustainable competitive advantage we have in today's economy is the speed at which we learn. And YPO is very much a learning organization, and as leaders, we have to constantly be absorbing data, not just from within our own industry, but from outside our industry, and we get a lot of that in the networking in YPO and that kind of cross-pollination. So it's been a very powerful, enlightening week.
Kevin, what about this week for you?
Well, I actually chaired the week, so I've been, we opened, our grand opening was in Sydney, Australia on Monday, and we've had 53 events all over the world.
And you were chair of all of these.
All of, you're right, but it was people like
He
Nick
looks
here.
a little haggard.
I was
doesn't
going
he?
to say, you deserve a
Who
cocktail
actually
tonight.
ran the on the ground all the different events throughout the world. So it was really incredible. But if you ask me what the most interesting thing from the whole week was, he's actually probably the most famous investor guy in Australia, Daniel Petrie. And Daniel made a statement that we would reach singularity somewhere between 2035 and 2045.
Okay, now what do you mean by singularity?
It's when the computer can do everything the human can do.
And sometime between what years?
2035 and 2045.
Okay.
So that gets you thinking, right? Like, as in Edison always thought from the future backwards as opposed to our current constraint world outward, and innovated towards that future state. Well, if you think about what Daniel said, and let's just assume it's somewhere out there, you know, what is the world going to look like? And 60% of jobs are just going to get blown up between now and then because the computers are already eating into all kinds of industries, and it's going to continue. So what will society be like when you get out there, when the whole middle class, if you will, is kind of getting obliterated in the process as we move forward? So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
And how do we adapt to that? I mean, innovation certainly has its benefits. I mean, we all have seen it happen at an amazing rate. But there can be, I guess, a downside as well to that. I mean, how do you balance all that? Nick, any thoughts on that?
I think it's adaptability. And I think we have to really pay attention to being able to continue to learn in our own lives and continue to innovate. That's very topical for this week. Always continually innovating.
And I think education probably plays a really key role in
I think it
making
does,
sure
too.
that we
It's
don't let
I
it
don't
take
think
over.
that's such a scary thought. It just means, we're talking about adaptability, means that your lifestyle and business working ethics are going to, not ethics, but efforts are going to change. You're going to have people with more time on their hands. So they'll have more time to enjoy themselves, please God. They can go out and get educated. They can do other things. They can contribute more back to society. There's going to be more free time available, I think. And if we use it constructively, I think it'll be helpful.
So, and Dan, I mean, how do you see that?
You know, in talking about Edison, I think one of the things that's interesting is his approach to failure and this principle of failing your way into success. And it's interesting how relevant that is today, because even when we look to Silicon Valley and this whole principle of lean or agile development, it's all about failing fast. And it was really amazing to see, you know, so long ago, him having that really visionary approach to it.
Yeah. He says fail fast, fail often, but fail quickly. And don't fail twice.
Catch your
don't fail
losses.
twice. Don't make the same mistake.
But here's the question: is how do you know when to kill a project or to give up on it, so to speak? I mean, Edison was very persistent, and changed the world because of it. But at some point, we have to go. You know what? This just isn't working. So, I mean, how do you know when to do that? It's a very tough decision, right, Kevin?
Well, I guess looking at it from that perspective, if you continue to iterate, or you really and the buzzword today is pivot, right? Everyone is pivoting because you learn. But fundamentally, if you have a great purpose, I think it gets down to the higher order purpose that you're driving towards. And the key is to always examine that purpose and then experiment towards it. So if you, was quintessential Edison, he experimented like crazy, but that purpose was so pure up there in the high level that you keep moving forward towards it. So the key issue is that purpose off or wrong? Because if it is, that's when you fail.
What kind of things limit innovation? Like, I think I've worked for some big organizations. I think budgets can limit innovation. HR departments can limit innovation. I mean, what are some other things that limit what we can truly achieve?
I think success in some cases limits innovation.
And how's that?
I saw this in the real estate industry when we had years and years of success and just continued to do it the same way over and over again.
You get comfortable.
Without innovating, you get comfortable, and then things change, as they will. And if you don't adopt fast enough, you fail. And sometimes you fail really, really badly, as opposed to if you innovated or if you changed models beforehand, it would have been a lot better.
Being a little uncomfortable can contribute to growth.
Yeah.
It really can. So what do you see as obstacles?
I think Edison always says, and I don't know why he fails his way to success, because he doesn't, failure's not an end game, it's a pivot game, like Kevin said, and it's a learning process. And one of the big things that Edison would always say is, you know, so many people out there have just given up when they were so close to being successful. So he was never about ready to give in on those type of situations. And I think one of the biggest forces that works against innovation is resistance to change. The world changes every day, and if you don't change with it, you're 2 days behind. Technology drives that. So you don't want somebody in your office to say, I don't think that's such a good idea, or we don't want to do that. There were so many examples that were given today about that type of thing. So you don't want anybody resisting change for change's sake.
Right. You do.
To the point about success, it's many times the things that define us as what makes us great that we're unwilling to let go of. And in many cases, it's this issue of sunk costs. So we've spent so many years, so much money, so much investment into becoming great at something, and yet that may be no longer relevant. And what made us great in the past may not be part of the path to the future. And for business owners and executives, sometimes making that cut to say, we're going to just dump this and let it go is a tough thing, and yet that can be the barrier to the future.
Okay. Well, finally, before the last question, just kind of tell me about YPO, what it's meant for you, if you have any personal stories, how it's helped you run your companies or your organizations.
So I'll start. YPO has been great for me because it gives me a sounding board of peers that are running companies in varied industries, typically not even my industry, where I've learned the most, and I've had the most support from fellow YPOers.
Okay.
I think it just, I'm not a member of YPO. I think I'm a little too young, aren't I? I don't make the age barrier or something like that. But actually, I love being around people that are innovative, and they appreciate the Edison legacy, and I love that this is a terrific organization through which we can always enhance and improve the Edison legacy. They're just wonderful people, and I can't say enough about the organization and our association with it.
And it keeps you young, right?
Yeah,
Innovation
it keeps me
you young.
Absolutely.
This is
I
good
like
for
to
you.
hang
Good for your
I
health,
like to
your
hang
brain.
around older guys.
And Dan?
One of the things that's amazing about YPO is the global reach. And as a global organization ourselves, being able to tap into that markets around the world, leverage the intellectual capital of these thought leaders around the world, constantly having that flow of knowledge and information keeps us relevant and helps us be agile in the marketplace.
Okay. And finally, Kevin.
I guess I'll go back in a few years back. I live in Denver these days, but I was in a forum. We have forum in YPO, and within the chapters there are forums, and forums consist of somewhere between 8 to 12 members. And it's a very helpful, where we help each other, personal, business, and family, if you will. And it's a safe haven where you can share and you can get feedback selflessly from the other members. And I remember years ago in Philadelphia where we were in a hyper-growth period in one of the companies I had, and it was mayhem on the external. And I would go to my forum meetings, and it's just this beautiful aura came around me of people, of friendlies. And they were all just really cool because, you know, you're going through those challenges, and it's that you can lean on people for that help and support while you're in those kind of crazy times. So that's probably the best I've had, but I could tell you 20 stories about great things YPO has done for me.
All right, well, thank you. We'll have to do that another day. So thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, next week, let's do it. You know, I'll come to Denver, sure. Thank you for sharing these stories, and sounds like a very successful and great innovation week. And thank you as well for joining us on Facebook Live. I'm Jane King from the NASDAQ.